Hello everybody and welcome to another Transformers review. In today's video, thanks to the team at Robot Kingdom, we're taking a look at the latest offering in the Power of the Primes line. It is the Titan class Predaking, consisting of our 5 Predacons. Now, pretty much every third party and their auntie have attempted a Predaking, but this is the first Predaking we've had from Hasbro in a very long time. Taking a look at the front of the box here, we have some very kind of Earth Wars inspired artwork. On the rear of the box, we've got your Predaking is this tool, and we have a very brief bio. And on the side of the box, we have each of our team members, just in case you weren't up to date with who is whom on the Predaking team. We have Dive Bomb, Headstrong, Rampage, Razorclaw, and Taurox. So why change Tantrum? Is it because it's too violent or aggressive? I have no idea. Predaking comes in a plastic prison, being held in place with a combination of plastic ties and string, and comes with a large instruction sheet, a selection of stickers. I'm still undecided as to whether I'll apply these or wait for some Toy Hacks versions, and a rather ridiculously large collector's card, which on the back we have a number of the primes. And here we have them all here out of their plastic prison. They're different. They're not amazing, but they're not terrible. A lot of pictures online have showed them being really hollow. They've got some real heft to them. The sculpts are indifferent, I guess. They're not anywhere near the sculpt that we get with the third-party companies. These are definitely more on par with their G1 counterparts, but at the same time keeping it very close to the rest of the Power of the Primes line, and giving us some pretty large figures. I mean, this is the first combiner they've done since Devastator where they've used all Voyagers, and they've kept them all the same size, and they've given us a large combiner, something that a lot of the third-party companies have been unable to do. They've always had Razorclaw as a much bigger figure. So, speaking of which, let's start with Razorclaw himself. Right, he's not a bad looking figure. He's got these nice little guns flapped down on his arms. The lion sculpt is okay. We do have an open and close on the jaw, and we have the nose painted on. That, unfortunately, is his tail. A large gun that just plugs in to the back there. His legs and hips are a little bit loose on mine. They don't really want to tab into position. Articulation wise, the head, you can go left and right. The legs can come out to the side. We do have an upper shoulder rotation there. We have an upper bicep rotation and a bend on that elbow. Unfortunately, no tilt though. It would have been nice to have a tilt there just to get those legs out wide. Coming down to the back, they can come out to the side, and we do have a bend on the knee and a pivot on those hind legs, so we can get a fairly feline-like pose, and we do get this arch on the back, which is part of the Predaking head, but unfortunately we do not get any waist rotation. It's not horrendously ugly, is it? Avoiding that kind of repaint thing, they've gone for a different mold for Rampage. The head, unfortunately, looks up and down like that. He's constantly looking down at the ground for something, which is of course unfortunate. We can go up and down. We do get a little feline jaw there as well. The front legs can come out to the side. We get that bend very high up on that shoulder, and we get the ratcheted paws. And the hind legs, unfortunately, do not come out to the side, and we do get up and down, and we get a little up and down on the paws. So the articulation is kind of a little bit sucky on him, and again we've got a big gun coming out of his hind to form his tail. And not the worst version of Rampage that I've seen though. I quite like that. Nice little pussycat nose. Now, Dive Bomb is a massive lump of a bird. We've got these guns that sit nicely underneath. This one is actually my favourite of the set. He's just a big chunk of a bot. I love how he feels in hand. Now, of course, we do have all of those gold stickers to place over those wings. The Decepticon insignias are already pre-applied. As you can see, the legs do dip somewhat, and we have these bird feet coming out, so we can bring these hind sections back, and if you choose to, we can bring the bird head down. Really nice to have this guy, especially squaring off against the likes of Swoop. I mean, he did, of course, steal Swoop's name, but what is in a name? And we get the first hint at the head sculpts there as well. Really nicely done on these figures, but yeah, very impressed. Good looking solid figure. The articulation, the wings can go up and down. We can bend up and down here, and the feet, as previously mentioned, can curl at the toes and on those robot heel spurs, and you can kind of twist the waist if you see fit, but it's designed to kind of just sit like this so he can be laid down. All right, let's take a look at Tantrum. As you can see, he has this massive great gun on his back. Unfortunately, we do have this kind of side pod section coming off there as well. I wonder if we can fit one of our smaller figures on there, one of the Power Masters or something like that. He does have a very strange head sculpt as well. Looks like you should be able to open up that mouth on him, but I can't. It's a very strange looking figure. Is he meant to be a bull or is he meant to be a buffalo? I'm not really sure. The legs can come out to the side, and we do get a ball socket in here, so there is some rotation on that lower leg as well. But I would have liked, something a little bit extra. I would have liked that pivot. The head doesn't move up or down, but we can go left and right to pose quizzically. The legs at the rear, again, are static. They're locked into position. They can go forwards and backwards on this knee, and you can actually move them backwards and forward on the thigh, but that unfortunately is it. And you do appear to have a rather large socket hanging down underneath him as kind of an udder. These really remind me of the old Brave figures. We had Liner Dagwan. I can't recall off the top of my head, but they were kind of boxy, and one of those turned into a bull as well. But the gun section does detach, and we're left with this on top here. He just kind of looks like a brick with legs. So I like to have the gun on just to break up that brickness, and just tabs in like so. Now let's take a look at his brick brethren in the form of Headstrong. There we go. Headstrong's a nice looking figure. Again, I would like the mouth to have come down. Yeah, maybe it does. I'm not sure. I just can't really get in there to take a good look. The sculpt on Headstrong's 100 times better, in my opinion, than it is on Tantrum. He's pretty much a remold of his fellow comrade. Same ball sockets, etc. Same lack of articulation on those legs, and same big, unsightly combiner arm hanging down there. And again, we have this massive cannon on the back. I do like that it sits central, but this is rather unsightly. If we had a pilot on here, we could have it almost like Dino Riders, or like something from the Persian army in 300 where they were riding in on elephants. As we have Headstrong in hand, let's get him transformed up. So you want to just remove this cannon. You want to move these pieces backwards, and you can bring this tab down. This udder section just bends down. We can bring these feet up, and they just bend and tab away into these cases, which in turn rotate down, and we're going to tab into the lower portions of those legs. So again, that's just going to untab from the upper leg, and that's going to rotate down, closing off the back of this leg section and just tabbing in at the side of the foot. This back piece can then come back in. The arms can come out to the side, rotate down and around. So again, bring that out to the side, rotate that down and around, and we can rotate the head, revealing a very nice robot head indeed. And that's not a bad looking figure, really, is it? I mean, he's not... Ah, there we go. There's a huge backpack. I don't think there's actually a way of removing that. I think it has to kind of be on there. You could unscrew it and have it loose. They have put details on the back of the bot, so it wouldn't look unsightly. They do kind of cover up the back of the legs as well. Yes, we have hollow innards. Something that I'd imagine a third-party company are going to rectify. But yeah, that's quite annoying. That's quite a lump hanging down there. And I mean, if we bring it all the way down and tab it in, then that is going to absolutely hinder his articulation. With it out, we can actually rotate his waist, but with that locked in, his waist has no movement at all. The head can rotate. Arms can come up, around, ball jointed there. We have that waist-ish rotation. Legs this far forwards, that far back, out to the side, upper thigh rotation, and a bend on that knee on a very nice soft ratchet. And the feet actually pivot. There we go. That's a very nice, welcome addition to the figure, a pivoting ankle. Now, that is, of course, not all. He does come with his weapon. Now, to attach said weapon, we're going to bring this piece down, like so. This is then going to come up like this. There's these grooves here. They are going to slide in to the side, like so. We can then bring his arm up and around, like this. And there we go. Now it looks like he's holding this massive, great bazooka on his shoulder. I like that. That's actually pretty cool. Although these dancing hips are pretty darn loose, and these feet have quite considerable weight to them. But I mean, he's a fairly nice looking figure if we can overlook that massive addition to his back. Tantrum follows exactly the same path. We just bring the legs out and down, bring this out so we can get these legs bent over and tucked in nicely, and of course then just untabbing them from the back, bringing them round and tabbing them in to the front on both sides, just tidying all of that up. Here we go. That big backpack can then again come down and just tab into the rear of the waist. The arms can come out, down and up, like so. Out, down and up. And then we can just rotate that head around. And there we have a rather nice looking head for Tantrum, although he does have his very large kind of 5-head thing going on. And again, we can bring in our rocket launcher, and this time I'm going to mount it on this side like so. I can just tab in there, and then we can bring that arm up, and he can just be holding that like so. Articulation is exactly the same. Love this kind of grated metal piece on the front there as well. And then we can just tilt those feet. Again though, those hips are really, really loose. I mean, it may be that I've got quite a slippery surface here, but those legs should not slide out like that. They are extremely loose, which is very kind of disappointing, especially when you try to pose a figure. You really don't want them slipping and sliding all over the shop. Next up is our bird-brained friend. We have to remove both of his guns, which actually split into 2 sections, but I'll cover that later. We can bring his wings down. We can bring the arms outwards, and they're going to extend. And then there's a fist underneath, like so. That should flick out, and we just bring the arms down and bend them down on both sides. So again, let's bring this out to the side, extend, flip open that fist like so, bring that down, bring the fist around, and there we have the arms done. You can bring the head down and then bring that beak section down as we have his face looking straight into our soles. We can disengage the legs. These are then going to rock down and fully extend up, again tabbing back in. So again, bring that down, tab that back in, and we have the heel spurs out flat on both sides, and the guns can then come back in and just plug in. He's just very back heavy. His balance is completely off. These don't stay tabbed in because we put the weight down. The legs will split apart, or if they don't split at the thighs, the legs will then disengage at the knee, which is such a shame. I mean, his arms seem to be really set back as well. The head is kind of right forwards and those arms are really back. And if we just place him down, naturally he wants to tilt backwards. I've used the hinges on the legs to give him a slightly wider stance, but unfortunately it still doesn't really seem to rectify his terrible balancing abilities. Another issue we have is the guns do not tab in fully on the hands. They really kind of balance on the forearms. Articulation wise, the head does look left and right, and we can tilt upwards and downwards. That's probably the most articulated head we have from the set. The arms can go all the way around on a ball socket. There is a double jointed bend on the elbow, and just watch as the gun pops off. There we go, we can bend that elbow all the way up. We have a wrist that can curl inwards due to the transformation. The waist does rotate. Again, though, the waist does look to be really offset and out of position. The legs can come forward on a ratchet, backwards on a ratchet. We do get a bend at the knee on a ratchet. And again, we have the previously mentioned pivot on the feet and the up and down on the toes. So as much as I would like to, because he is a good looking figure from afar, you really can't get him in any action poses because everything just kind of collapses. Oh, so annoying. Why did they have ratchets going forwards but not out to the side? These all need some kind of pledge future proof or something on them, but we shouldn't have to do that. I know these are designed for kids, but surely kids want to occasionally stand up their Transformers without the fear of them toppling over. Now I have managed to get him to hold his guns. I've used those extended handles. They don't look good like that, but at least he's holding a weapon of some sort. Alright, next up, let's do Rampage. Let's remove his gun from his bottom. This untabs, like so. These legs can come down and collapse into position, and these come down and form the feet on both sides. This is then going to extend. This comes all the way up and pushes and locks into place. These can come out and up, extending all the way up on both sides. Going to bring that up, all the way up, and tab that into position. The arms can disengage like so, come all the way up. This can then bend down, and this bends like so. That tabs in to the back of the forearm, like so. And then the arms can come down, and we can move the fist outwards, and that's how we do the arms. So again, with this side, bring this all the way up, bend this over onto the forearm, push and secure, bring the arm down, and then flip open those fists like so. This backpack piece comes upwards. This can then rotate around like so, and we can flip his head up using this tab. There we go, and bring that up to the front, locking that into position, and then his beast head just pushes down onto his chest. We can bring his gun in, and this one actually almost fits into his hands. There we go. There is Rampage. That's a pretty decent head sculpt on him there. Not the worst. Head articulation though, just left and right. Ball jointed shoulders. And we do get a shoulder shrug as well, which is always nice. Get a double jointed bend on the elbow, and we do get a curl on those hands. Waist does indeed rotate. Legs can come forward on a ratchet, back on a ratchet, out to the side on a friction joint, no surprise. And we do get an ankle pivot as well. Again though, they really just needed to stick some ratchets on these thighs and everybody would have been happy. The backpack is probably the least intrusive of the set, but it's not exactly well hidden, is it? And of course, last but by no means least, the king of the Predacons, Razorclaw. Need to just unplug his ginormous gun. The lion head comes up and we can rotate that around. That's just going to tab in like so. These flaps can come untabbed on both sides, and the legs can extend down. This piece here is going to fold upwards like so, and this is going to come down and tab in to the rear of the leg, and then this here is going to just close off and fill in the back of that leg, tidying everything up. So again, bring that down, bring this up. This is going to rock down, fold away, and tidy up nicely either side. Right, these guns flip backwards on both sides. The arms can then come around. These come down, they rotate, and then we can flip those fists outwards like so. Cannon then comes up and then that bends back on itself, tidying up that arm. So again, with this side, bring that down, bring this down, rotate around, flip the fist outwards. Like so. Bring this down, bend that up, this rotates and comes around to the side of that shoulder. And then we have Razorclaw's head that can just pop up like so. And then we bring in his ginormous gun and plug that into his hand. Oh dear. Again, doesn't really want to plug in at all. It's not designed to actually stay in. There's his head, left and right, a little bit of up and down motion as well. Shoulders can rotate all the way around. They can come up to the side. There's an upper bicep rotation on a mushroom peg there. We get a nice deep bend on the elbow. We get a curl on the wrist. Unfortunately, there is no waist rotation. We do have some hip skirts at the front, though. Legs can come forwards and backwards. We can go out to the side. We have upper thigh rotation. We have a bend at the knee, and we have a nice ankle pivot. I mean, as a team, they do look pretty nice, all on display together. I can't help but think they've got that kind of Jimbao simplified clunkiness to them. I want them to work. I loved when Hasbro gave us their Devastator, and I wanted the Predaking to be like the Devastator, but I think that as nice as it is to have these unique characters individually designed for this purpose, they just aren't quite on par with that originality that Devastator gave us. People say my comparisons aren't varied enough, so I'm not leaving anything to chance. They're actually very good sized Voyagers. You compare them to the likes of the torso bot Grimlock, then they actually tower over him. They are very much kind of on par with the likes of the Cyber Battalion Shockwave, or maybe the Wei oversized Headmasters. They're not quite leader scale. Right, now to get these chaps transformed up into Predaking, first port of action, we need to separate the feet from the fists. This can be done by coming to the underside of the foot and just bringing the fist out. Now our first figure I'm going to start with is Dive Bomb. So you want to remove his weapons from his hands. Bring those fists inwards, and you want to fold that fist up. Right, unclip the wing. This chest piece comes out on both sides, like so. Just push and slide away from the torso. You want to bring this piece up, rotate that like so, have the wings up and bring those out to the side. Right, rotate arms around to the back, and then this can be pulled forwards. The head can go up, and this can come around to the front, and there's this tab here that's going to tab in to the opposite side like so, and the head can then just tilt downwards like so. This can then rotate around, fold the toes down, and we just need to make sure that both of these legs are fully compressed down. Our fist will come in, we've got a T-tab here, that'll line up over on this side like so, and that's going to do the same over on this side, and then these are going to push and close together, and then we have some lovely forearms. Next up we have Rampage. Let's remove his hands and just pop his fists inside. Make sure this arm slides up, and that's going to tab and lock on the inside of that torso. So just slide that up and just tab that in on the side like so. The head is going to lean forward. This is going to push down like so. Bring that back up. The legs will rotate, so we have this part at the front. The leg will collapse in and all the way down like so. Do the same with this side, collapse that in and all the way down till it locks into position. And then if you look on the inside of this foot, we have a tab, and then this time using these tabs we're going to line that foot up, and that's just going to push and tab into position, and then we have the second arm. Right, it's time for a bit of leg. You want to just move this piece back, move the head forwards. This piece here is going to rock upwards, and that's going to come all the way up like so. These are then going to slide inwards into that cavity like so. You can then come down to these legs. This is going to flip from here. That's going to come all the way up to the side, and as we bring that up, there's a tab here, and that's going to align with the tab at the back there like so. And then this is going to flip forwards like that, and that's going to tab in on this waist. And if we come round to the foot, just looking on here, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, and just so you can see, that's going to slide in like that, and then this one is going to come in on the outside, and again just tabbing and securing into position. That's the leg. Now we're going to do pretty much exactly the same thing with Tantrum. So again, you want to bring the arms back into position, head comes forward, this body piece is going to come up and then push forwards like so. The legs will then collapse on this hinge here and drop down into position, drop and collapse in like so. And the legs come untabbed from the back there. They rock upwards, and again just tab in on the back of these thighs. Untab, rock, and tab in on the back of the thigh, and then these shins collapse upwards and upwards like so, tabbing in at the front, and then we can just bring in our leg, sliding that in firmly to position on both sides and making sure everything is locked off accordingly. Last but by no means least, we have Razorclaw. We have to remove his gun and collapse his hands into place, and his head can just be pushed down into location. The lion chest can come out, rotate around. These wing panels can be brought out and extended on either side, which in turn is going to extend the lion's mane. And before we tab this in, this piece is going to come up, and this needs to go perfectly straight, and that will lock in nicely with those wing extensions. This comes down, this lifts up, this comes back over and tabs in firmly on both sides, giving a semi-satisfying click, and then we can just tab Predaking's head in, rotate the forearms, bring those down. Those are going to slide and tab in to the waist, keeping this back panel piece in firmly. These are then going to come around and rotate and tab in. So flip that up and around. And for this leg, just disengage this piece here. This is then going to split like this. This will rock up and tab into this yellow piece, securing into place, which now allows this to fold over, tabbing in it here and here. And I just want to have those feet tabbed up, and that, my lovelies, is a Razorclaw in his Predaking torso mode. We can just bring those hip skirt panels down. Predacons form Predaking. Bring this piece here and tab that into the back of Dive Bomb's wings, and we're going to bring Razorclaw's torso in. If you look, these parts here need to slide in, so we need to line that up, make sure that it's about level, and it's a lot easier when you don't have a camera between you and your objective. There we go, and that slides in at the front as well. Make sure these side pieces are pegged in. Bring these back pieces down. There we go, that's starting to take shape. Still quite hollow in the back there, but not as hollow as I originally thought, but it's definitely not perfect, to say the least. Now bring each one of these leg pieces in. You want to rotate and then bring this down like this, and then you have the slot here. That's just going to slide down. Do that for either side, and then taking a look at the mighty Predaking's arms, we have this slot here. That's just going to slide down on that groove. So once again, lining everything up, we can slide that down, and that's going to tab in wonderfully on that side. Again, using this slider And this groove, we can just slide that into position. Just some of the finishing touches. Just make sure that these wings are level with the panel at the back of those legs. We can push those in. If I just disengage this wing piece here, you can see that I've got a hole here. That's where these guns are going to just stow like that. Then we can bring those up. We can then bring these cannons together. They are just going to tab in, and of course this is designed to go on the outside of Predaking's arm. And here we have the Titan himself fully transformed up. And you know what? He's not actually that bad at all. Proportionately, he looks a lot better than what I thought he was going to. He holds a pose quite nicely. Still not a fan of some of the heads of the animals. But a lot of people have the Jinbao oversized Predaking in their collection, and they would definitely know worse. You love the head sculpt, and love those cannons coming over the shoulders. It pays both a nice homage to the original G1 animation and the G1 toy. I guess it's kind of a mixture of the two brought into the 21st century. Now this is the back view that people were not overly amused by. It's this gaping hole here, I think, which is the most problematic for people. I don't know if there's a way of filling that slightly. I might see if I can bring these legs down, bend them down, and then poke them inwards, see if that tidies it up a bit. But there's definitely no fear of this joint here being broken. It's a very strong joint. He's got a really nice wingspan as well. It actually reminds me of the G1 toy with all of the crazy Devi upgrade kits on it. So I remember when Collector 75 did a review on them, and I thought, God, I'd really like that. And now we're about 25 Predakings in. Now, that's a shame. I just thought I'd try and extend those feet a little bit, see if I can pad out the inner torso. But unfortunately, to no avail. But I mean, all in all, it's not an unsightly piece. I love the slender look at the front. We've got those small cannons just below Razorclaw's beast head. Now, of course, if you decide to give our Predaking a combination spark of some description, holding this piece down, we can untab the Predaking head, and we can just untab his matrix of leadership or combination, whichever one you choose for him to have. And the matrix housing itself is identical to what we get with Prime, but this time round we can pop this out. Boom! And there we have him. Onyx Prime Maniacal Laugh. A little tiny Power Master, I guess he comes across as. He forms part of the matrix. Head does twist left and right. Arms move up and down a little bit out to the side. And he can get in a nice seated position. So I might see if I can get him to sit alongside somebody in their beast modes on sides of those feet, but I don't think that's going to work. Yeah, I mean, not really much going on with his face. It looks a bit like Owlman, doesn't it? But yeah, it's nice to have one that transforms up again. We can just pop that down. Obviously, if you decide to use a different version of the Matrix, then you're more than welcome to. But just to know, this does indeed transform. I thought I'd just check. He doesn't actually hold in there at all, which is a shame. But on the outside, Predaking is really well balanced. There we go. Props to you, Hasbro. But yeah, that doesn't look too bad. Unfortunately, it just doesn't lock into position. So let's pop that back in. Like so. And then we can just pull that back off and lock that into place. Let's check out the articulation. The head can go left and right. We have no real up and down motion though. The shoulders can come up and down, forwards and backwards. We have an upper bicep rotation. We have a bend at the elbow, just shy of 90 degrees. In fact, that's quite a lot off 90 degrees. Nowhere near, in fact. Obviously, if we extend the arms to make them more ape-like, then we can definitely get a deeper bend. We have rotation on the wrist, and we get a fixed set of hands. Cue perfect effects. We get up and down on these rear cannons. We get up and down on the wings. The waist can rotate on friction joints, although mine, like these pieces on the side of mine, they keep popping inwards. You don't want those to pop in because there's not a great deal to support this waist as it is. Now we don't have any torso motion forwards or backwards. We can have the legs go out this far forwards, this far to the back, out to the side, upper thigh rotation, 90-degree bend on that knee. There's a kind of lower shin rotation there. We have pivoting to the side. Unfortunately, we do not get any forwards and backwards motion though. So with a combination of solid plastic and tight ratcheting joints, for a big guy, he's got some nice posability. And here he is again with some other bots from the similar lines, just to give you an idea of how he scales. Now I'd love to get him up alongside some of the other Combiner Wars or Titans Returns combiners, but unfortunately I no longer have any of the standard combiners, and my son donated our Combiner Wars Devastator to young Carl just before he passed. It was one of his all-time wants, and my son said, well, if he wants it, Daddy, why can't I give it to him? And so he did. Bless him. And Carl put up a picture of him having it on Facebook, and it literally brightened my son's day. So I'm just really happy that the little boy did his part. But yeah, that unfortunately is where Devastator ended up, so I can't use it in the comparison, but the box is pretty accurate. It's about 19 inches in height. It is made well. It's definitely, in my opinion, made and holds together better than the Combiner Wars combiners as standard. Obviously minus all of those upgrade kits. I don't think it's going to take that much from the likes of Perfect Effects, etc., to make this a really nice looking Predaking. I mean, I could even see the likes of Crazy Devi, whoever they've gone and worked for now, kind of coming out of their woodwork and attempting to rectify this as well, giving it wider wings, etc., and just filling out that torso piece. Yeah, but all in all, it's a very nice looking piece, and I'm glad we got it. This is going to go on my son's shelf in the space that Devastator left. It's nice to them bringing Predaking back in the Beast Hunters line, but he was never the same, was he? He was never one big dragon. He was 5 raging animals. Thank you all for watching. I hope you found this video useful. If you have, feel free to give it a big thumbs up, share, and of course subscribe. And until next time, from myself and Predaking, thanks for watching. Goodbye.